Hi, this is Brett Ingram, award-winning entrepreneur, and today I want to share with you 20 positive emotions we feel and why it's important to recognize them. So who doesn't like to feel good? As we go through life's journeys, ups and downs, it's always better when we're feeling good. The day looks better, we feel better about everything, we have more optimism, obstacles don't seem quite as large, and we feel like we can conquer the world or do whatever it is that we need to do. We're generally just happy being, existing, doing whatever we're doing. But it actually goes a lot deeper than just a basic feeling or a basic sort of temporary state where all of a sudden we have a little bit more like spring in our step and stuff like that. Psychologists actually have claims really since the beginning of time that actually everything we do is in pursuit of feeling a certain way or experiencing certain emotions. They would argue that if you say, okay, but wait a minute, I want money, I'm not worried about emotions. They would say, what do you actually want the money for? If you really break it down and you keep asking yourself questions over and over again to get deeper and deeper at it, really, what do we want money for? We want it because we want the feeling of security, right? The fact that we know we have enough money for everything we need, or maybe freedom. We want the feeling of freedom because if we have money, then we don't have any worries and we can ultimately do whatever we want. If you say, okay, what about I want fame? What a psychologist might say is, but what you really want is to feel popular. What you really want is to feel important or maybe to feel valued, right? So no matter what, it all comes back down to feelings. We do a lot of things and we do them in order to generate certain feelings in our lives, and feelings are emotions. So really, while emotions sometimes get a bad rap, or when we associate things with the word emotional, the general idea is it can have a negative connotation. The fact of the matter is, its emotions are the sort of the juice of life. It's the thing that we all, live to experience, whether or not we articulate it that way or not. And so, regardless of whether we think everything boils down to just emotions, or maybe it isn't that simple, there is no doubt that they are a real driving force in our lives. But the question becomes, how many emotions are there actually, and what are they? And why do they matter beyond just, hey, I feel good for a minute? So there is no defined or set number because there is no one common agreement about it. If you ask a bunch of different people, they will articulate emotions in different ways. There'll be some generally agreed upon that are pretty common and popular, but there are also going to be some that people will disagree about, or they'll term something different, or somebody will see it one way, someone will see it another. But the value in this is that it's important to be aware of as many as possible and to recognize them, because when we do that, it allows us to consciously focus on bringing them into our lives and experiencing them more. And ultimately, the more times or the more time we spend feeling good, the better. The more we experience positive emotions, the better our lives will be. Especially in today's world with so much negativity everywhere, now is actually the best time to focus on this, to think about what these emotions are, and just by having them in our consciousness, it's something that we can then generate more automatically and look for those emotions and try to lean into them more and more. It's like when someone says, if you're looking around the room, notice everything that is red or notice everything that's green. All of a sudden at that point, those are all the things you notice. They might be things that you never saw before. They've always been there, but now because you're focused on it, because you're aware of it, you recognize it. I remember buying a car, right? And anytime I got a new make of a car that I didn't have before, all of a sudden I noticed them all over the road. My color or my brand or my model or whatever. And it's something that was never conscious to me before. The same cars were always there, but I didn't notice it because I wasn't aware of it. So by raising our own awareness and our own consciousness, it's something that then we can focus on bringing these more into our lives. And the more we do that, the better our lives are. So here are 20 positive emotions we can all experience in no particular order. Number one is joy, right? Everybody knows a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. So like we might feel joy if we're spending time with our loved ones, or we just got good news of some sort, right? And anything like that is going to give us a feeling of joy and make us feel that way. Second one is gratitude. It's a feeling of thankfulness and appreciation. Anytime that we feel gratitude, and the amazing thing about this is science actually goes a lot deeper than just the pure surface level feeling on these emotions. In particular, some of them more than others. But gratitude is a big one. I've done full episodes on gratitude because the fact is, they've realized that there's actually a brain chemistry shift and change in the way that we think and feel. It literally changes the way that we think when we experience gratitude enough. It's a super powerful emotion. It's very positive, and it's really helpful in improving the quality of our lives. Feeling of thankfulness and appreciation. So we might feel grateful after someone helps us with a difficult task or whatever. I spend time every single day trying to think of 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for. They can be people in my life, they can be things that have happened, or just the way things are, or whatever. And they might be simple, they might be profound, but regardless, by doing that, it puts us in a positive state automatically. A third emotion is serenity. And serenity is just the state of being calm, peaceful, and untroubled, right? That's a nice feeling. The idea is you're laying in the hammock on the beach, or you're out on the open water with not a care in the world, just floating around, drifting around. We might feel serene while we're watching a sunset, or while we're sitting in a quiet garden, right? And so the calmness, the serenity is always a positive feeling, and it gives us a sense of peace and things like that. A fourth emotion is interest. We don't often think of this as an emotion, but feeling engaged or curious about something is actually an emotion. And that's also a really powerful emotion because it gets us going, it gets us motivated, it gets us wanting to learn. An example of that might be feeling interested while we're learning a new hobby or exploring a new place. I know when I travel somewhere, there's always this sort of sense of wonder and interest because I'm always fascinated by the fact that no matter where I go, no matter where I travel, there are people that live there. There are people that know that as home, the way that I know my home as home. And so I always try to imagine and put myself in the position of thinking, what would it have been like to grow up here? What would it be like to live here on a daily basis? And so in some cases I fantasize and think, hey, that might be pretty awesome. There are other places where I'm like, I'm glad I don't live here. So it just depends. But the point is, interest is a really powerful one too. Number 5 is hope. The feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. We all know hope, and we all know the power of hope, particularly in grave circumstances. If we're worried about someone's health, or we're worried about someone's life, or whatever the case may be, the power of hope can keep us going in some of the darkest times. And it can be very powerful. It can be almost spiritual to some people. And that feeling is very important in terms of our ability to brook disappointment and to keep going in the face of incredible odds. An example might be feeling hopeful about recovering from an illness, or hope about achieving a future goal, right? So those are examples of hope. The 6th one is pride, a feeling of self-respect and personal worth, right? Satisfaction derived from one's own achievements. Everybody loves to feel proud. Everyone loves to feel good. There's nothing shameful or wrong about that, right? Sometimes people say, oh, it's not right to feel. That's nonsense. It's great to feel pride. Pride about ourselves, pride about our kids, pride about our family, pride about our accomplishments, pride about our achievements, pride about our heritage, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Feeling pride and a sense of personal worth and satisfaction is really important. It gives us a sense of value and makes us feel important and necessary. And that is really, really important. Feeling proud after accomplishing a difficult project or a milestone. But also, we might even feel pride, again, just by our own heritage, by where we come from, by what we've accomplished, or by what we've experienced, right? A seventh one is amusement. And this is playful, but it's also really cool and it's powerful. A lot of times we associate positive emotions with the things that are either the superpower ones or the ones that are really common. But this one is a little bit more whimsical, but it's also really valuable in its own right. It's the state of finding something funny or entertaining. Look, it's great to be amused by something. I don't know if you've ever seen a street performer and they're doing something really neat, or maybe you've seen something where it's a little funny. I remember in Paris, I was with my wife in Paris before we even had the kids, and we were out at a sidewalk cafe in the evening. It was dark, and a guy pulled up on a Vespa. It was like a moped or a Vespa, and he was playing. He had a radio on the back of his Vespa, and it was playing this sort of exploration tune. It was this upbeat, catchy tune, and he was dressed like an explorer. He had those tan like overalls and cargo pants on, and he had one of those hats that you see with the safari or the explorers, and he had a net on a long like pole with a net on the end, and he had a sign written on his bike. It was like painted on there on his Vespa that said "TAG l'Explorateur" because it was in French. So like tag the explorer. And this guy did almost like this little comedy variety show. So he got off the bike and he started like doing all these like things, like he's looking, and it was amusing and funny. And we were a little bit wondering where he came from or what he was doing. But then he would stand behind a pole and he would hold the net up like this. And as people would just walk by, he'd reach out and put the net over their head. Nowadays, I don't know if you dare do that because you probably get punched out. But it was so funny and it was so amusing and so random. But that in and of itself is part of what made it funny and entertaining. And here it is 20 plus years later, and I still remember it. So there's a lot of value in amusement. Just feeling amused while maybe watching a comedy show or playing a fun game. And that's a cool emotion that connects us with the wonder of the world, right? An eighth one is inspiration. Everybody knows inspiration. The process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially something creative. Who doesn't love inspiration? You stare out at we've all seen the quotes online with the person on the top of the mountain overlooking the thing with arms outstretched, and you can't help but feel inspired by being at the top of this rock, literally the top of the world, looking out over it, and just that amazing feeling about that. So we might feel inspired by someone's success story, or maybe by a piece of art or nature. There's a lot of things that can give us inspiration. The ninth one, and this one's also very powerful. I may do a separate episode on this because I just read an article about this that's actually groundbreaking and amazing, is awe. A feeling of reverential respect mixed with fear or wonder. You go to the Grand Canyon, and it's actually on my bucket list. I haven't even been there. I was a couple hours away a number of times and just never quite got there. But I did get to experience Haleakala Crater in Hawaii on Maui. And if you haven't done that, it's literally a bucket list moment. To stand on top of the world in Hawaii before sunrise, it's freezing. You need a winter coat. It's 30 degrees, 20 degrees. It's literally freezing. And to watch the sun come up over the edge of the world, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Because the sense of awe that you get just to see the sun come up over the side of the world, and as one ray after another just sorts to unfold and the sun comes up and it goes from 20 degrees to 75 degrees, it's absolutely remarkable. And it's amazing to feel so connected to something and so insignificant compared to something all at the same time. So we might feel awe when we're observing the vastness of the ocean or grandeur of a mountain range, or again, in this case, a sunrise at the top of the world. The 10th emotion is love, an intense feeling of deep affection. Who doesn't like to feel loved, right? We might feel love romantically for our partner or our spouse or whatever else, or we might feel familial love, like for our family members or close friends. But that sort of feeling of love in that way is very important, and it gives us meaning to our lives because it makes us feel really good. It makes us feel valued and needed. And all of those emotions are all very positive. It makes us feel connected to other people. Number 11 is satisfaction. The feeling of pleasure you get when you accomplish something or maybe fulfill a desire. So we feel satisfied after completing a challenging workout or project. If you like to run, I do not like cardio, sorry, confession, but I love weight training. And I feel very satisfied at the end of a really good, strenuous workout. There's just something great about that accomplishment. When I cleaned out my basement, which had been a mess for a long time, and I kept thinking I was going to get to it over and over again and never did, when I finally cleaned it out, I had a great feeling of satisfaction. I still actually, guilty little pleasure, when I go downstairs just to look around and see it all organized, it does. It makes me feel satisfied. It makes me feel good. Number 12 is relief, a feeling of reassurance and relaxation following the release of anxiety or distress. If we don't have the anxiety or distress, the negative emotion first, we can't feel relief. But when we do, it's really nice to feel relief. You launch a new product and it's relief when that product actually starts to sell really well, right? You study for a test and then you finish it. You might not even know whether you did well or not, but you feel really good about that, or maybe resolving a conflict. You got this thing weighing on you, there's a conflict with somebody. Once you resolve it, you feel a lot better. You feel a sense of relief. Number 13 is contentment. Just a general state of happiness. It's similar to serenity, but not quite the same. State of happiness and satisfaction. So we might feel content when our lives and circumstances are in a place where we're happy about it, right? So we're not striving at the moment, like we feel at peace with where we are. And that sort of peace and contentment is a really powerful feeling as well, because it allows us to just be. It allows us to experience life and just be present in the moment. And that's really powerful as well. 14 is excitement, the feeling of great enthusiasm and eagerness. Who doesn't love to feel excited? You're going to the big game. You got the tickets for the Super Bowl and once in a lifetime opportunity. I got to take my father and my father-in-law years back to a Lakers-Celtics NBA Finals Game 5. I grew up a Celtics fan. My father-in-law grew up a Celtics fan. My father grew up on Cape Cod, so was always a Celtics fan. Hated the Lakers and never got an opportunity to go see a game. So it was a real pleasure to be able to take them to a Lakers-Celtics playoff Game 5, and the Celtics actually won the game too. So that was really exciting. And the excitement of just waiting for that time to come was as great as being at the game itself. Just the anticipation of knowing we were going to be able to go to that. So we might feel excited about an upcoming vacation or an event like that. 15 is euphoria. I mean, there's a show about this, right? A feeling or state of intense excitement and happiness. Just over the moon happiness, feeling euphoric after winning a competition, achieving a lifelong dream. I know I'm a man, I'm not a woman, but I've heard women describe the feeling of having a child as I had my own, and I was very happy to have them, but I didn't give birth to them, so it's a little different. But a sense of euphoria when you give birth, because it's this release of emotions all at one time. And so that's euphoria. 16 is empathy. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another, not to be confused with sympathy, but empathy is just understanding how someone else can feel. We might feel empathy for a friend who's going through a tough time. We've been through it ourselves. We understand. And that is an emotion that connects us with other people. So it's very powerful in that regard. 17 is compassion. Sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of other people. Compassion is a very powerful emotion because it allows us to give something, even if it isn't in a physical nature, to other people. Feeling compassion toward people affected by a natural disaster. I know when the disasters hit Hawaii or the tornadoes in the south or what's going on in Haiti or Israel and Gaza and all of that stuff, it's impossible not to feel compassion for people that are affected in any way by any of that kind of stuff. 18 is optimism, hopefulness and confidence about the future or the successful outcome of something. And optimism is super important also because, again, it's something that could keep us going in tough times and dark times if we feel as though there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So we might feel optimistic about our career prospects, the future of humanity, or whatever else. 19 is confidence. Yes, it's an emotion. The feeling of self-assurance that arises from an appreciation of our own abilities or qualities. So we might feel confident before giving a presentation or taking on a new challenge. Hey, I got this. You got this. And feeling that kind of confidence. And then 20 is affection, a gentle feeling of fondness or liking. We've all felt affection for a pet. It's a really good example, right? We have pets, we have close friends. There's always this, you just feel warm and you get this positive wave that washes over you just being in their presence. So again, look, this isn't an exhaustive list. It's not designed to be. There may be others too, but those are 20 that the more we feel them, the better we feel, and the higher we'll rate our quality of life. So the takeaway here is that emotions are more than just temporary feelings. Positive emotions can make us feel good now, but they can also impact the overall quality of our lives. As we all go through life's journey, doesn't it make sense to enjoy as much of the ride as we can? By gaining awareness of our emotions, we can focus on creating more positive feelings and bringing them into our lives as much as possible by doing the things that make us feel great. And the benefits go beyond just a temporary boost in our mood. And we'll cover that on another episode.